that I can talk about preschool right now because we could go on through 18, right? But with the very little ones, because the sooner we get to these kiddos, the better chance they have at overcoming or really reaching their maximum potential. So for moms, even from birth, if baby is not bonding with you, if baby's not making eye contact, isn't cooing, doesn't start babbling around 7 months, you just want to make sure that that's happening and that contact is there and baby's looking for interaction, because that's language, that's communication at that age. By the time they hit 12 months, we want to have at least 1, 2 words starting to come out, and of course it would be great if it was mama or dada, right? But they can say other things. I know some babies start off with ball or dog or whatever they're fascinated with. You want to make sure that when people are talking, hearing is a very important part, and it goes hand in hand with our profession, because if the child isn't hearing language correctly, they won't be able to produce it correctly. So do they look when people are talking? Do they look when they hear a noise? Are they paying attention and looking at the world around them, or do they not make eye contact? Those are things we want to start looking for even as early as 7, 9, 12 months. Now, I just saw an article today talking about early screening for autism. The CDC has 1 out of 68 children being diagnosed with autism. So we need to know the signs. One of those big signs is eye contact. Is the baby interacting socially or withdrawing? And another area for the child might be if they're very particular about foods, if they reject different sensory things. So those items, those kind of red flags, if it seems unusual behavior where they're not interacting with others, then it's something we really want to be on the lookout for. Again, it really is going to depend on the patient. Some kids just go right through it, they absorb. A lot of children, it's very common to have a period of silence where they are processing and they're determining, okay, I'm putting language into categories, I'm thinking about language, but I'm not ready to say anything, and they actually get very quiet. And that's something we need to look at too, to see if this is exactly that or something else is going on. And then what we typically see too with children in a bilingual environment, which they would now be in, is that they will be typically behind their peers because they're processing 2 languages up to a certain degree, usually around 3, 4, 5, or when they hit preschool or school, and then they balance out. But it's really important to have a child screened or evaluated to make sure this is a typical bilingual learning process, or my child is struggling and is going to get behind in language and therefore reading and therefore academics, which would affect their entire school career. So that early intervention is really important. And yes, children who are dealing with more than one language, come from one culture into another, will struggle a little bit, but we need to see if we can provide the necessary support so that they can be as successful as possible. Because as parents, we are providing the model, right? So if we don't provide a healthy model in all aspects of our life for the child will not be able to imitate that model. So if we aren't speaking in full terms in the house, if we're not reading, if we're not demonstrating a culture of literacy, all of those things will affect how this child views and interacts with their environment. So yes, the family health, the emotional health of that family, the togetherness, the safety that the child feels as a member of that family can completely affect how they develop as a person. Myself as a mother, and I include myself in this, I feel like I am this child's advocate. I want to be this child's hero. One of my greatest charges, one of my greatest jobs in this world is to raise this little human being into an adult. And so, as most mothers know, that requires a ton of self-sacrifice. So our job is to be this child's champion, this child's advocate, really stand up for this child, do whatever it takes to get them the help that they need. And the really good news is that in Texas, in the United States, there are a variety of programs that can provide resources for families if we just stand up and say, I need help. Oh, absolutely. If anyone is insecure about expressing themselves or communicating, then that will carry on through the adolescent period and as an adult. And as an adult in our world, even though we're very much technologically inclined now, we still need to know how to express ourselves socially with one another to get our point across, to sell our items that we're selling, whatever it might be. And so that is why it's so very important if a child is having difficulty in the communication process to get them as early as possible, because communication is key for their entire lives.